Hello, folks. As promised, I said I was going to give you a report on how my Romeo 1 did with the Sig Sauer P226 TacOps. And I'm happy to report that this was a lot of fun to shoot. And I'm just going to give you a few brief things about the red dot itself. For those of you who didn't see the first video, this was part of the centerfire exchange kit. That means that the entire slide as well as the red dot were all included. It was just a part that I basically added the slide because the original TacOps does not come with a slide that has a red dot on it. So I bought the slide as well as the red dot all together. And the good part about it is you do have your suppressor height sights, and these really did the job. I mean, especially when you look through the site itself, you can line up and you can properly co-witness. A couple things I needed to straighten out. Let me show that this is clear. I just put that out there so it would look pretty well. As you see, I do have a clear firearm at this point. Excuse me. So what I like about this red dot is it's a very good red dot, and you can get your target acquisition very well with this red dot. It's a kind of a growing trend. Either you can, some people say it's a tough learning curve to learn to use a red dot with sights, but I seem to pick it up pretty well, and especially when you co-witness the dot. A lot of people make the mistake of using the red dot as pretty much for fine targeting, or it's basically to get you in the area of the target, and then you can shoot where the dot is, and hopefully you will be able to get in within the bullseye or whatever you're trying to do. Especially with the 3 MOA. With the 3 MOA, what the best part about a 3 MOA is it's a smaller dot, so when you send a target out at range, the dot won't cover up the entire target as such as maybe a 6 or an 8 MOA will cover the target up when you send it out to far ranges. First, I want to mention that I did figure this out. Either one of these switches will turn the Romeo 1 on. And what that does is if I decide to leave the firearm down and leave it in a down position and let it stay there, after 2 minutes, the firearm is going to shut off. Now, when it shuts off, it can be easily activated when you pick the firearm up and it comes right back on, and it holds 0. It holds the actual setting that you had from the last setting, from the time you regularly cut it off and when you picked up the firearm. So that's a good feature that they have where it can hold 0. A lot of times, a lot of red dots will not hold 0, and then you have to reconfigure the dot to make sure it's in the right spot. I'm going to just turn this on a bit so you can, there's the dot right there. And how I had to pretty much, unfortunately, I didn't do a good background. Maybe I can do it this way. But right here, you could. What I do is I try to first co-witness the dot where it's a little better here, but I try to co-witness the dot where it was sitting on top of the front blade, and that's what I try to do, and then make my adjustments from there. The way I had to adjust it is put it right exactly a little bit lower than on top of the dot, and it's really good. So once you acquire your target, and let's say your dot goes out or anything like that, at least you have the backup iron sights to be able to, get your target acquisition. But the dot is not far off from where your irons are, so that's one of the good reasons why you should pretty much co-witness uh, your your red dot, so it'd be somewhat close to where your sighting, your iron sight sighting is, that I'm trying to say. Uh, other uh, Outside of that, the one other concern that was well, let me just continue with the dot itself. Uh, there have been some videos that I've seen. I saw one video where the guy racked the red dot off of the side of a table or whatnot and dropped it from shoulder length. And when he dropped it from shoulder length height, it smashed on the cement. And it's a shame that that dot was destroyed. But, and this is probably one of the issues people have concern, whether these red dots have some type of durability or some toughness. Well, Sig makes a shroud that goes over here, a metal shroud. I'm not sure of the material. I heard it might be another type of aluminum, but the shroud goes, it's the exact same shape of the dot and its housing. So what it does is it goes around, it looks like the same red dot, it just goes over top, and it leaves the window area open for, so you can still reach your switches, which is a good thing. And that way your red dot is protected. So maybe that's a good alternative for people who are generally rough, red dots are rough with their firearms. They can add that shroud on top, and that way the shroud will protect it a little more. There are other red dots out there that they are pretty much tough and robust, but I think Sig caught on to this, and that's why they made that particular shroud that goes over this red dot itself. Like I said, one of the best features is having the cap for the battery, and it's great to have the cap on the battery of the top. There's some red dots where you have to take the whole red dot off, and it's a pain in the neck because you have to take the red dot off and you lose your zero, and then you have to put the battery in and then put that back. So that makes it very simple. Like I said, when I first got this, the slide itself, it's all a one-piece slide with the red dot. All I had to do is just unscrew that. As you see, there is a adjustment for elevation and windage. And I want to show one other item that comes with this configuration. Well, it does come with its own adjustment screwdriver for the elevation and windage, and it also comes with a regular screwdriver. Well, it's all one piece, and it flips out like a, let's say, like a pen. And like I said, I did have a really good time with this red dot, and I'd like to show you some targets. Let me get the set up right there. Okay, this is from the first shots. I was attempting to basically line up the sights, just shoot from where the factory setting was. And unfortunately, on the factory setting, it wasn't too bad, but I shot a little bit low and left. Now, I'm going to attribute some of the portion of me shooting left because I do have a habit on double action, single action firearms and shoot little bit left. And I was trying to make adjustments to get the red dot to be where I wanted it to be. Now, the red dot was aimed at the center X here, and it was shooting low. So I had to make some adjustments. And this is actually the first shot right down here. And I was saying, where did the shot go? But I figured it out. It was here and here. Then I tried to make a few more adjustments by moving the windage area. And for some reason, I guess I overcompensated or did something wrong, and then I shot over too far. Now that's like again, like I said before, it's a combination of me shooting double action, single actions on the first shot. By actually, I have a bad habit of when I fire. Sometimes I turn the firearm toward the left, so that's what happens. So a little bit more zeroing, and you see the shots here. A nice group here, a nice cluster group here. This one's a flyer, and then again, I pretty much centered it to where I want to be, but that could just be a combination of not the dot so much, combination of me trying to point the firearm in the right direction and lining up. And a key point is you really have to line up your iron sights as well as the red dot at the same time. So you have to have the irons and make sure the red dot is centered with your front iron sight, and that way you won't have a dip going down or a dip going too high. After working a little further with it, again, I'm playing around with adjustments, trying to get a center shot. Got the center shots, but then all of a sudden I kept grouping a little bit too high and left. And you're going to see that again, a group for high and left, and I'm still trying to basically center it down. But it's kind of in the area where I want it to be because, like I said, the red dots are not supposed to be pinpoint accurate like, let's say, iron sights or like if you're using a scope per se. But I like the way it came, the accuracy with this, and it's just going to take a little time just to tweak it in. But it's just about actually where I want it at this time. One thing I like about Sig, I think basically Sig makes I like their firearms. I'm not too keen on their striker fires. I like either their classic line or their 1911s. But they have in the past done a lot of things where you can change slides and so forth. And this is the centerfire exchange kit that I got. You can either buy exactly the slide itself to change the caliber, like that one's in 9mm, or you could change it to a 40 or 357 Sig if you want to do that. These were the upgrade. This was the upgrade. Some people had the Sigs in the 22 long rifle caliber, and then they just bought the slides. And as you see here, you can see the different calibers that you can buy from the Sig website or call Sig. And these are the caliber exchange kits that you can get, and for what models that they're for. When I called Sig, I actually wanted to get this in. Get this slide configuration. Mind you, this, like I said, this is the caliber exchange kit just for the slide, but they do have the caliber exchange kits with the Romeo 1. That does cost you a little more, but to me, this is worth it. This is worth it because I wanted a dot on the red dot sight on this particular firearm on this particular model. And like I said, I really wanted this in 45. I wanted to see if I could do an exchange kit and have the slide and everything be converted to 45 ACP, and it wasn't possible. So I was talking with somebody over at Sig, and they said no, the best way to do it is to go this way. I am not sure, but I'm going to call Sig again. I do have a P227. I believe I asked him, could I, there is an exchange kit, I think, for, you know what, I'm going to check that out and get back to you. But I'm not sure this will go in on my P227. I'm pretty sure it won't, but they have different caliber exchange kits. Uh, well, that's all I have, folks, regarding this, and uh, maybe this is maybe this would get somebody's attention. Maybe they would like this, the change calibers, or maybe they would want a red dot. But I love it. I love it, especially on this particular platform. So that's all I have, folks. So happy shooting. #2A.